Red Barn's one of our 6-year round beers. It's a farmhouse style beer. Features ginger, grains of paradise, black pepper, and a little bit of orange peel. There is no coriander in the beer, although a lot of farmhouse style beers feature coriander. We're trying to stay away from that as being a flavor component, specifically in this beer, and using the sort of the orange peel and some of the other ingredients to bring some of that citric character into the beer itself. So first, cheers to the
cheers. Yeah.
So farmhouse style beers were basically provision beers. They were designed to be consumed while the people were working in the field, so they should have a real refreshing quality about them. And you'll notice in the back end of the beer there's a little bit of an acidity, a real nice acid, sort of tart twang in the finish. Some hop that sort of gets in the back end as well, and a lot of the spicing really comes over the top, starting in the aroma and then in the finish as well. There's a little bit of that ginger, some of that tartness from the ginger that comes into play.
Yeah, the hops is really in the back end. It's not even so much in the nose or anything, right?
No, most of the hops that are in this beer are of the bitterness variety. We use only a load of bittering hops, and we've stayed away from a lot of hops at the back end of the beer because we want the spicing and some of the herbs to be more aromatic than the hop character.
So that means most of the hops goes in early in the boil, right?
Absolutely. There is a little bit of a hop presence in the back of the beer, but by design it's a small fraction, way smaller fraction than you'd find on the bitterness side.
Really good, really delicious.
So the overwhelming feature of the beer, it's about a 6.5% alcohol, blonde colored beer. We designed it to have a lot of spice components to it with the 4 different herbs and spices that we're using. But the finish itself is predominantly about the spice character, as well as the phenols and some of the yeast character that comes into play. So the overwhelming perspective of the beer is a spicy, sort of sweet and sour kind of beer at the same time. Yep. This is the 2011 release, just typically released in late January, early February. Try to coincide right about Valentine's Day.
Okay.
So we're talking about this being a sort of a winter barrel release for us. Red Poppy has historically only been a brewery available for purchase at the brewery. This was the first year that we took Red Poppy into full production, and we're very, very pleased with the results. So here's your version of the beer.
This is more widely available this year.
This is a lot more widely available.
Okay.
We did about 900 cases this year, which is a huge increase over years past.
Yeah.
It is a Flanders type beer, which means that it's a barrel-aged beer. A lot of color, brown in its base. We also use some sour cherries in the barrel aging process. You're going to get some real notes of oak, some vinegar. The sour cherries will come into play as well. Really refreshing, highly acidic, without being really over the top, but a very easy drinking sour base beer.
I mean, am I crazy? I mean, it's almost like a really nice Chardonnay on the nose, almost.
It's got a little bit of that real nice oak, French oak character. We don't go too heavy with the oak, but a portion of the beer really needs to have that oak character to support some of the sourness.
Yeah. And
at the same time, there's a real nice long finish at play.
Wow.
At only 5% alcohol, one of the lighter alcohol beers we produce, either in the barrel program or outside of the barrel program. We don't do a lot of things under 6% alcohol, but this is great drinkability in that regard.
Really good. Really cool.
This is actually our Angel Share. We do 2 different batches of 2 different releases per year. This is the brandy barrel finish. We also do a release in the early summer that's a bourbon barrel finish.
Okay. And this in the barrels for a year?
No less than 9 months, although these brandy barrel ones were almost a year by the time we went to package with it. So what we've got here is really a beer that more likely looks like a digestif. It's supposed to be more like a fortified wine. So very port-like in its intensity. You're not going to see a lot of carbonation, but what you're going to have is an enormous caramel complexity from the base malts, and then the barrel aging is really going to kick in the finish. It is a little bit sweet by design. It's a 12.5% alcohol beer with a lot of nice barrel character. The brandy brings a little bit of a butterscotch note.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of an apple quality as well. It differs. The bourbon finish has a little more heat from the pure ethanol from the whiskey or from the bourbon itself, and then the vanilla notes that come in. So there's people across the board that have real strong preferences from whether they're a brandy barrel finished person or a bourbon barrel finished person. They have real specific notions of what they want the beer to be and how the finish of the beer should taste. although we love them both.
And I mean, you're getting a lot of the vanilla and the oak notes from the barrels. How many times are you able to use those barrels and still get that?
With the Angel Share and with most of the barrel beers that we produce here, they are one-time use only.
Okay.
We have two different sides of the program, we call it. One's the spirited side, bourbon and brandy, and then the other side is the French oak, sort of the more microbial wild beers. The spirited program, we only use the barrels one time. The intensity of flavor that you can achieve is only that one first fill.
Right.
For sure.